Yo, my name is Bolty, and today I'm going to be talking about how the Silver Age of comic books began and effectively ended and transitioned into the Bronze Age of comic books. So first up, we got to go back to the late 1930s to the mid 1940s, where icons like Wonder Woman, Captain America, and Superman were introduced during this time as propaganda tools. Obviously, they were immensely popular during this time and became super iconic over this decade. However, by the time we reached the 1950s and World War II fortunately ended, there was no need for superheroes anymore, and comic book sales immensely dropped during this time, and the rise of television and movies happened. This led publishers and creators to stray away from comic books and superheroes, which almost led to the collapse of both Marvel and DC. And then we get to the 1960s, where a huge turning point happens within both companies. Marvel desperately needs a hit, and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby come in and create the Fantastic Four, one of the first ever families we see in all of superhero media, and they were a massive success. Obviously, we also got the Amazing Spider-Man introduced in the failing series of Amazing Fantasy, as he was introduced in the Amazing Fantasy number 15. And then everyone loved it so much, he got his own series. Obviously, so iconic, and everyone loved it. We also got Flash, who was introduced, I think, Showcase number 4 as well. Barry Allen was an instant hit as well, and everyone loves him. He had an amazing rogues gallery. His powers were unique, and his suit was really nice as well. Green Lantern was one of the first cosmic characters we were introduced to as well, as Green Lantern was introduced as well, specifically Hal Jordan's version. He also became a very big foil to Barry Allen's Flash as well, as the two are best friends in the comics. During this time, we were also introduced to many teams in both Marvel and DC. This ranges from the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Justice League. The X-Men failed during the 1960s and rose back up after the Bronze Age had begun, but the main pillars were the Avengers and the Justice League. The Silver Age of comic books was absolutely booming, from Spider-Man fighting Doc Ock and Green Goblin, from Fantastic Four fighting Doctor Doom and Galactus, Flash fighting Gorilla Grodd and Reverse Flash. We got also Green Lantern fighting Star Sapphire and getting introduced to the Green Lantern Corps, Justice League fighting within themselves, and obviously the Avengers fighting characters like Loki and Ultron. The Silver Age defined superheroes in general. However, by the time we hit the late 1960s and the early 1970s, the stories became a little bit mediocre and drawn out. People needed something new. And then Stan Lee decided to leave The Amazing Spider-Man after 110 legendary issues written alongside Steve Ditko, who left in issue 38, and John Romita Sr., who was writing up until the same time around him as he left a few issues earlier. So then we get a 19-year-old rookie writer, Gary Conway, and another artist, Ross Andru. They begin writing a few Spider-Man issues, and sales begin to go up a little bit for Spider-Man, as it is a little bit tonally different than what we got with Stan Lee. It's not as campy. It's a little bit more dark and relatable in terms of how Peter deals with college, his friends, fighting villains, and all that stuff. But this is where we get to the conversation of Gwendolyn Stacy, or Gwen Stacy as we all say it. Obviously, she was a bit of a directionless character during this time, and Gary Conway even admitted it himself. He didn't know what to do with this character. And then this is the domino effect that affected the entire comic book industry for decades to come. And that was the idea to kill off Gwen Stacy. I'm very surprised that Marvel Editorial even agreed to this, as this was a huge shift in the status quo, and obviously when it happened, it received a lot of backlash. But then Gary Conway and Marvel Editorial were able to agree upon something, and they both agreed to kill off Gwen Stacy. This then occurred in the now legendary Amazing Spider-Man number 121, where the Green Goblin and Spider-Man get into one of their most brutal battles yet, and Green Goblin decides to throw Gwen Stacy off a bridge. Spider-Man spins a web, and it kills her. No matter what, though, even if she hit the water, she still would have died as well, so regardless, she was dead anyway. This obviously then led to another huge battle, as Spider-Man almost killed Green Goblin, but then refused, and Green Goblin impaled himself with his own glider. This shook up the entire comic book industry. Everyone was shocked. Even Stan Lee himself said that this is not something that he was ever expecting. This, in my opinion, effectively ended the Silver Age of comic books and began to transition into the Bronze Age, as both companies took this very, very hardly as well. Because during this time, killing off a superhero love interest was completely unheard of. No one ever thought that this could happen to Spider-Man out of all characters. We have couples like Superman and Lois. You also got Sue Storm and Reed Richards. You also got Barry Allen and Iris West, and Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris. You never expected anyone to die, because that would shake up the status quo in a very negative way. But Gary Conway did this for Spider-Man. And this was one of the darkest stories that we've ever gotten, even until today when it comes to Spider-Man. But at the time, it was the darkest story that Marvel had ever released, and obviously faced a lot of backlash. However, there was some support for the decision as well. This effectively began the transition into the Bronze Age of comic books, as many writers decided to take a much more darker approach to how superheroes will be written in comic books. And this loosely inspired many stories, such as The Dark Knight Returns, Daredevil Born Again, both written by Frank Miller, The Death of Superman, Batman Nightfall, Green Lantern Emerald Twilight, and X-Men Dark Phoenix. Many of these stories are very dark, and I believe these stories would not have happened, or neither companies would have had the gall to even make stories like this had Gwen Stacy lived in the comic books. Because obviously, if Gwen Stacy had lived, many people are theorizing that if she had lived, Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy would have gotten married. And obviously, that's true because their relationship was very sweet, but Gwen Stacy died. I believe if Gwen Stacy had not died, the entire comic book industry would be completely different today. This also changed how Peter Parker's Spider-Man would function as a superhero as well, and was a huge turning point in his character development as well, and also affected even his marriage to Mary Jane Watson later on as well. And Mary Jane is the better Spider-Man love interest, argue with the wall. So that's all I have to say, to be completely honest. What do you guys think about this decision made by Gary Conway? I hope you guys loved the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Follow my TikTok.